For today's cup of coffee, we're going to be discussing the Shroud of Turin. And this was a topic that Yates had brought up several weeks ago. And the reason it has taken me this long to discuss it was because this is something that's very important to him and me. And I wanted to do it justice. And so my intention was to do just tons of research and tons of video links for you and different things like that. And actually, as I was getting ready to find those tons of links, I found one. And it was a teaching by a gentleman named David Onysko. I hope I've not butchered that horribly. And he just had everything. He had everything in this one video. He is a scholar of the Shroud of Turin. If you're not familiar with this, the Shroud of Turin is believed to be the burial shroud of Christ. And this has been an area of contention for many years. I remember even as a kid, the Leonard Nimoy In Search Of programs, and that they had discussed the Shroud of Turin at one point. And then later, at some point, I think he may have said, maybe in the 80s or something like that, that they claimed that the fibers that they were allowed to take, because the shroud is very protected, there are areas of it that had to be repaired due to a fire back in the Middle Ages. And that the fibers that was taken and carbon dated supposedly claimed that it was a fake. Well, ain't that just like the devil? Now, we've seen a lot of things lately that everybody's like, no, this is true, and the devil's going, no. But later testing has proved that, yes. I mean, even down to the pollen that has been found on some of the fibers, that this is accurate. And, this presentation by this gentleman, it's 46 minutes long, and it goes by so quickly because he's very knowledgeable. He is a very accomplished speaker. I had watched another video a couple of weeks ago, and scientists, and it was like listening to potatoes. God love them. I know that they're good at what they do, but as far as presentation, no, they're scientists. But this gentleman, it was, like I said, I learned a tremendous amount. And one of the things that I didn't know whether he would or would not include was as far as the face covering. And that was folded. And he does explain in there the significance of that. So, Yates, the best that I can do is give this video link and urge everyone to watch it, because it is just incredible. And I ask anyone, if you're not a believer, have an open mind as you go through there. Because those of us that do believe, it's not that we believe blindly. There's lots of evidence out there. And it is a matter of seek and you shall find. If you're wanting to find nothing, guess what? You'll find nothing. But if you're wanting to find who he is, you'll find that too. If you've got paranormal, supernatural, UFO, alien, anything like that, send those to me at cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com. And people's like, well, you got a Bible up there. Absolutely, I do. That belonged to my husband. And that's a very cherished thing of mine. And that is one of the most supernatural, paranormal books that you will ever bother to read, if you ever bother to read it. I mean, here it is. We're talking about something that took 6,000 years to come to fruition. That there's prophecy that predicted the birth of Christ. There's prophecy that comes after the birth, after the death of Christ and the resurrection. You've got all that. People raising from the dead, that's pretty supernatural. You've got about the Nephilim in there, where you had these beings that came down, they mated with human women, produced offspring that were giants. That was the reason you had to have the flood, was because the DNA pool was tainted horribly. Yeah, the devil decided he was going to make man in his image instead of God's. Does that sound familiar to anybody these days? You've got that, even as far as floating axe heads, as far as accounts of teleportation, people walking on the water. You did have, as far as when Saul went to the witch of Endor and she summoned forth the spirit of Samuel. So, if you've never thought about this being this amazing supernatural paranormal book, I urge you to take another look at it. And King James, no, I'm sorry, the original language was not King James. The one I've got up there, that was New King James. It's easier to read. Find something that works for you, but make sure that it is scriptural. But start someplace rather than no place. And I will tell you this, there's a lot of people that call themselves by his name that are not representing him properly. So don't judge him by people, because people were fallible. That's one of the things. That's why we needed a Savior. So you all have a beautiful, blessed day. Again, that email address is cupofcoffeewithscream@gmail.com.